And so if people want to make cities a bit more environmentally friendly, I mean, that's great. I mean, I'm very inclusive. That's a problem I have with pacifists. I don't have a problem with somebody saying, I will never commit an act of violence. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is when the pacifists attempt to take that tool out of everybody else's toolbox. So, once again, you know, it's very interesting. People in concentration camps, this happened a fair amount, that if one person was going to try to escape, there are other people who would try to stop them from escaping because that was, that would endanger their own work at saving extra scraps of soap. And once again, I'm not judging the people in the concentration camp. I would rather have more scraps of soap than less. Similarly, there's a great book by Robert J. Lifton called The Nazi Doctors, in which he writes about people, about doctors who would work in concentration camps, and they would do the best they could to help the inmates. Many of them, I'm not talking about Mengele, I'm talking about others. Many of them would do the best they could to help the inmates. They would do everything except question the concentration camp itself. And they would do everything but question the racism and the whole system that led to the concentration camps. So they would hand someone an aspirin to lick if they were sick, or they would hide them from selections for a little while. So inside the system, they're doing everything they can. Outside the system, of course, they're perpetuating it. And I ask the same thing about environmentalists. We do what pathetic little is available to us within the system. But I want to suggest a third alternative, which is going on the offensive and destroying the system itself. It's like if we develop in our own little community a sustainable way of living, and those in power find resources on or under our land that they want, we in this room all know what's going to happen to our community and to us as individuals if we resist. The Tala lived here for 12,000 years, at least, sustainably. We don't need to invent new things. We need to stop. And what happened to them? We need to stop those who are destroying the planet. And that's not to say that people shouldn't be developing alternatives. That's a great thing to do, but we must never, ever forget that right now the oceans are being vacuumed. And there are 60,000 dams in this country over 6.5 feet tall, 70,000 dams over 6.5 feet tall in this country. There's 2 million dams total in this country. Many of those are very small. And we can come up with whatever alternatives we want. The dams are still standing. Okay, if they were space aliens from Alpha Centauri who were putting up the dams and who were doing the industrial fishing, we would know what to do. If they were Islamo-fascists or pinko commies or the enemy du jour who was doing industrial forestry, we would know how to stop them. But because it's those to whom we pledged allegiance as children, we don't stop them. And so that's a question I ask, and this is a real question. What good will me developing an alternative do for the salmon? It's a real question, and that's the question I ask. I'm not in any way saying that it's all or nothing. We need to bring down the system, or we need to develop fair trade alternatives. We need it all. I mean, we desperately need a revolution in the big sense of bringing everything down. And we all know what we need to do, which is we need to dismantle everything we see around us. But if we simply wait for the great glorious revolution that's going to do that, there won't be anything left. So in the meantime, we need to do all this incredibly important reform work. I mean,